Oh wow, we're streaming live. Woo!
Yeah, and there's
Awesome.
like 4 people already in the waiting room for the Q&A afterwards.
Woohoo! Good,
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Yeah, woohoo! Oh, it's a
It's gonna be
great way to
fun.
start, you guys. Oh,
Love it.
Yeah, it's really good to have you here, Susan. So
it's yeah, it's so good to have you.
yeah, having each other here. Beautiful humans.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, beautiful humans, super excited to welcome you to the second episode of our Embodied podcast here. And today with the great honor of having our dear friend Suzan Brown with us, who's been personally inspired by Steve Jobs to put Ethernet on the motherboard, and since then you've been just the tech innovator, selling a number of like really interesting innovations and doing lots of work in the IoT space, and holding global patents. And what connected me with you was really your desire to tokenize the state of flow and looking more at what is flow, how can we make a new economy around it, and how can we basically build an economy that by design enables us to step more into feeling alive, putting energy into the present moment. And yeah, that's what we're going to explore for the next about like 45 minutes, and then getting into our Q&A after that. So Susan, so
Okay.
good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's
So excited.
our ritual to restart with the question, like, what is it that moves you at your core?
Inspiration. The desire to feel inspired and to feel truth, to feel resonance with my true self. That's what I believe I wanted before I even came here into my body, was to figure out in a body how to blend in such a coherent way that I would know without thinking, I would know when I'm on my path, when I'm in alignment, because then it leads to happiness and fulfillment and joy. And when I'm off, it sucks. So I wanted to make the best of everything. And, and I'm okay with even distractions and interruptions, like my colleague who's walking through right now. Learning to live like this without control, with complete acceptance, and not trying to change what's out there, but what's inside. And as you know, even in the beginning of the call, here we were in the middle of a meditation, almost finished. And Benjamin, you're going to love this. The emergency bell rang, which meant there was a true emergency with my mother downstairs. And I had to just move, inspired action. I don't care what I'm doing, right? When I hear the call, I want to be in a position to hear it and know what to do and to move in that direction. And so, of course, I rushed down there and my mother's on the floor. And it takes two to get her up. And so I got her back into bed and said, Mom, I'm literally in the middle of a podcast call and I need to get back, but I'm going to get you back to bed first. Right. And she's like, okay. So this is a beautiful segue into what your other question was, Tobias. The best way to get into this flow state is to, I call it finding the paradox in moments, unionizing the opposites. When what feels off happens, appreciate that contrast instead of pushing against it and making it go away. Go, okay, what's the benefit of that? What's the value of that just happened? My mother on the floor, right? Because my old self would be like, oh my God, that's ridiculous timing. How could you do that? Right in the middle of me and a call, right? And then everything would seem wrong about it. But the magic happens when you go, no, yes. What's good about this? And you just embrace it and you pull it in and just show up and feel like what is being asked of me? What does my soul want to do right now? And then very gracefully and effortlessly, in a loving state, reach forward, go do what you feel called to do. And so there's no better feeling. I mean, like even this morning, I woke up at exactly 3:33. And that's a very beautiful number for me for a lot of reasons, but it's just, the way the universe gives me these beautiful winking moments of that it's got my back, and I want to hear it. I want to hear what my soul wants from me. And I often in a better position to hear it in the wee hours of the morning, right? The music of the night, when my mind hasn't started getting odd thoughts, and I'm just more open. And so like in those moments, that's when I can hear the calling. And that's when oftentimes lately, like my heart is just so opening that it actually feels like I'm having a cosmic orgasm, just lying there. And I don't even want to move. I say, oh my God, there's that bliss feeling again, and I just want that bliss. And it used to happen maybe once a year if I was lucky. And now it got more frequent, right? And then in these meditative states is how I then downloaded these new inventions from the collective, from that which is mutual with everyone, which is how to measure this, how to measure when you're in a high coherent state of alignment with your true self. Because that's where everyone gets to self-actualize. And that's what we all want. And so the inventions came. It took me a couple of weeks to figure them out because I heard it actually as a calling. I heard, Roger that, Roger that, Roger that. I was like, who's saying that? And what does it mean? And I was like, that can't be me because I already know what it means, right? So it's like a little riddle that I played with myself. And after figuring it out, it turns out you can measure flow. You can measure yourself. You can know when you're, more calibrated to your true self and when you're off. And if everyone could do that, then, well, we'd all be better off. The whole planet, everything would be better. If we could just make ourselves better, we'd all be happier too and be more empowered, right? Like everything changes. And I also realize it doesn't take that many people. A small percentage of people doing this will raise the conscious level of the tide. And when the tide rises, all the boats float. So it like has a win-win effect in pulling everybody up. And so I then figured out, well, then let's tokenize that. And this was in 2018 when I was receiving this stuff. It was long before NFTs even showed up on the scene. And so it didn't really completely even make sense to me, but I patented it anyway. I'm like, okay, I'm just trusting, myself more and this is going to work out. And so if we can tokenize that, that's like a token of your inner value at your highest, greatest, happiest, most loving state. That's worth tokenizing. I think it's going to be the most valuable token there is. I consider it like, that's why, we came up with this. We're going to have a launch party coming up on August 1st. And I received this the other morning, which is a treasure map to the launch pad. And you have to figure out how to get there. And that's how I make sure you're in alignment and in the flow by the time you arrive. And if you don't arrive, that's okay too. You may be next time. And so, and there's an SOS riddle on the back as well, which, I'll send you guys.
This is so fun, Susan, because what comes through for me is this whole piece around like neurochemistry. Even when you spoke about like your mom and you were saying that, yeah, like what's the good in that? And so it's really showing it's sort of leaning into curiosity. And as Stephen Kotler speaks about, the moment you lean into curiosity, you get like dopamine hits, and then you have this cascade of like awesome body chemicals. And I'm now seeing this as kind of, well, if you're like treasure map, it's like, wow,
Well,
is
and
so cool.
now let me tell you
Playfulness.
how this, I'm going to tell you how this came about. It's so perfect. It's so poetic. I was supposed to give a talk about this at the Tulum Crypto Club. Originally, it was supposed to be yesterday, and then they rescheduled it to next week. And then I said, okay, well, I'd like to come and do it earlier because 4:00's too late. We often don't start till 5. And I want to bring my mom. I really want to honor my mom at this event because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. Like I wouldn't be here on the planet if it weren't for her. So, we all have a mom. Let's rally around the love of the co-creators who made us. And so like, I know this talk is going to have my mom in it. And they said, no, we can't make it earlier. That would be confusing to people. I was like, oh my God, they don't get it. And I had my quick reaction of irritation, right? And I'm not enlightened. I'm working on it, but these are the little things that I attract to myself to get better at this. This is like a graduate course in consciousness raising and alignment. And so, but I did react at first. I was like, oh, well, they don't get it, they don't. Oh, and then I totally understood how Steve Jobs felt. Oh God, what a bunch of idiots. They're missing the point, right? I went into that state for, I don't know, probably just a few minutes, which would have been hours or days in my previous life. And so I was like, all right, what wants to happen here? I asked myself, how do I unionize the opposite here? How do I love and appreciate the contrast of this? It just means something better wants to happen. And I said, okay, what's the better? I started asking the questions in the middle of the night at 2:22 the previous morning. I got it. I'm like, oh, we want to have a treasure hunt to ensure those who arrive are more likely in the state of resonance to hear the message. And then I can't give it away, but it just got better from there, including the actual secret location. You have to actually really find the location. It's so epic. It's like the perfect location. Oh my God. It literally makes me cry. I was out there this morning, meditating on it, and it brings tears of joy and this is the secret, you guys. If there's one most valuable key I could say about flow, it's about doing this kind of neutralizing and unionizing of what feels like hardship or frustration or any negative feeling is just an indicator that the way you're thinking about something isn't true. And so just play with it. Just let it go, and wait or ask or do whatever it takes to lighten your resistance. And then you'll receive something better. Like find the blessing in disguise.
I love that. That's amazing. Find that. Yes. I'm very curious, Susan. Like I love to be in flow. And I also notice like every information you need is getting arrived exactly at the right time when you're in that state. Everything you need, you don't have to look something on Google, like the person next to you all of a sudden says something because you're there. And then, it's such a beautiful ride. But I'm really curious because you are measuring flow. And for me, just conceptually in my mind, it feels like in a way you're pressuring the flow state, which there is a potential to, if you don't know how to get in flow yourself, to actually start to be too focused on the state and actually not achieve it anymore. That's my conception of it. And I'm really curious. By the way, it just turned 3:33 here in Amsterdam. The time.
Oh, cool. Local time. Lovely. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. We asked a great question.
Right. The question
and it's part of the game. It's really part of the game. Because that is part of flow, is the more you try, the more you can't. You really have to let go, and you can't fake it till you make it either. It's an art, and it's not like something you necessarily figure out overnight. I think most of us are spending our whole lifetime figuring it out. And it's all but you can't improve anything if you're not measuring it. It's hit or miss. A lot of people just flow accidentally. And it took me a long time too, to kind of get a hold of it and get more consistent about it and deeper and have it last longer and get back when I get knocked off. Right. But it's literally, life is a game. And it's like saying what you just said, like, for instance, it'd be like saying on your, you're driving around and you want to hide your gas tank, indicator. I don't know. I don't want to know, right? You do want to know. You do want feedback. You do want guidance, and you've actually got it. The simplest thing is any negative emotion is an indicator that you're a little off or a lot. It's a slight pinching off of your flow, and that's the first feedback. So whether you like it or not, that is built in to every human, is the ability to feel their emotions and recognize when their thoughts, and it does start with thought, is not true, is not in resonance with their source. And it is felt as a negative emotion. And I've got a whole list of those levels of emotions, because the way to get to flow is going to be through feeling. And when you're really there consistently, you don't even care about the measurement, right? That's the beauty of flow. Your cup overflows, and it's worth so much. It's inherently valuable. So you don't even, so you're going to discover a lot of paradoxes as well. It's just, flow is full of paradoxes where you solve these riddles of these opposites that are seemingly true at the same time. What wants to be asked next?
Yes, I really feel you on the paradoxes in my own journey, and
Yeah.
I also I was inspired by Neil Donald Waltz, who said it's divine dichotomies. And he called it, and it was also a dichotomy.
Yeah, right.
Amazing.
And I also like, he
actually,
said, you can't have what you want. You can't have what you want, because as long as you're wanting it, you're in belief of having it.
Yeah.
So you have to unionize that paradox to have it actually happen in this physical realm. But then again, another paradox is you think you want the physical manifestation, but in the end, you don't care. You want the feeling.
So that brings me to, like, where is your feeling at the moment? Are you already completely launched? Are millions of people already using your token? Like, where is your feeling at the moment?
No, it's still in its infancy, because it's sort of waiting for humanity to catch up a little bit with this. Even the co-creators I'm working with, we're all getting ready. We all have to ready ourselves, right, to really get the hang of this, to be able to demonstrate it, to be able to authentically represent it. And then it will be ready. It will be appreciated for what it is. And when people get it, it's usually very powerful, and I can see it in their face and their eyes. They just light up. They're like, oh my God, yeah, that's worth a lot. That is love. That's currency bottled up and made from love. And you're a win-win person. So we all win. And then all the things that you don't like tend to you realize they're just gonna evaporate.
It's amazing. I feel we're moving now towards this piece around, new ways of value generation. And I think with that also comes the question, how do we measure flow? And then how do we make it, basically the unit of exchange? So it'd be lovely to hear more of your thoughts in that space, and maybe sharing a bit about the game that you're developing as well.
Yeah, I think I'll do that rather than, I don't want to fixate on, the heady thoughts of how it's measured, because that's where it would take the conversation. Is a much more inspiring answer and satisfying answer is going to be giving some hints about, we're gamifying coherency, we're gamifying life. We're creating a blockchain game that you can, the only way to progress in the game is to move in the direction of your true self. And you'll have feedback, and some of the visions that I have and are even in the patent that was filed over 3.5 years ago. It's amazing. This has been like in the field now for a while. Is the idea is you, and now it's become more clear with the treasure map. In order to even participate, to get on the mothership, you have to find your way to a launch party in the physical world. And so wherever I do keynote speeches, wherever, this comes out, it will be a treasure map to find the buried treasure, which is inside. And in the virtual world, you'll be boarding a mothership to leave your old self, to leave your false beliefs behind, and even leave your false beliefs about the earth and humanity, and then return anew and quite literally create your life and yourself and the world as you want it to be. So we're gamifying consciousness rising, we're gamifying happiness. And as you flow, when you land on New Earth, right, in the game, you have a home tree. And to nurture yourself, you got to figure out, what it takes. Everyone's different. Might be meditation or surfing or, your family or art, whatever it takes. Everyone's so different. Is to figure that out. It's the first order of business, is get quiet and, start to listen to your inner self. And then as you do, your home tree is nurtured with the sunlight and the dew and the rain and the birds and the bees. And as you, get going better and better, like leaves grow, and as you co-create with people, like right now, our home trees would be blooming flowers with each of us on it, on our branches, because we're doing this together. And so the game just goes on and on. And there's so many, parallels that I'm choosing to, bring it home, so everyone has a chance to self-actualize through gaming and through tokens of yourself.
So it's been quite interesting.
It's called Mine Yourself. You're the miner. And the other beautiful thing in one of the patents is that there's no cap, there's no limit, because our value is infinite. And because, we all grew up in a world where we were told scarcity is valuable, or debt was somehow worth making all the money based on debt, win, lose. The world's gone crazy. Right? And so this is like a huge transformation of currency, shifting from win-lose, backed by debt, to backed by you. And it's win-win when you're at your best. And so I call it banking on people, really betting on humanity that we're going to figure this out. It's hard. It's what we came here to do. And the only way to miss the boat is to not play the game.
definitely highlights this problem-solving mindset versus really creation, or even just consumption versus creation. And there's this guy Gino Yu at Poly U in Hong Kong, who does a lot of work in that consciousness field, and yeah, just quantified self. And so the interesting thing now that basically the technology becomes more and more affordable to like measure our heart variability, to measure our brainwaves, measure like galvanic skin resistance, all these things. I'm also curious. You've been speaking a lot about that. A lot of people speak basically about flow being that very cerebral type thing, like basically brain chemicals. But you also talk a lot about the full body flow and the magnetic field versus just the electric field. And I'd love for you to go a bit deeper in this for anybody listening.
Okay. So as a scientist and an engineer, and as an electrical engineer, I too used to get pretty excited about the electrical signals, right? That to me is more health, more in the head, right? And EKGs and just, so I see the future, and especially for measuring degrees of resonance with our true self, is more about feeling and more about magnetic energy, and definitely flow. You can read all sorts of books, and there's lots of experts on the theories, and one of them ranges more around head and thoughts, and another one talks more about extreme athletes and zero to dangerous, and it's like extreme pushing, in my opinion, and extreme body experience. And I really have come to the understanding that it's a more holistic experience. It's everything. It's mind, body, soul, heart. And the most powerful way to measure it has to include the heart. I mean, because that's when I am at my best, and when all my thoughts are solutions or valuable. Even when I'm helping someone, I'm much more empowering and much more peaceful when my heart is like how it feels right now, which is so full that like I'm unattached to outcomes. I'm like really okay, and I'm just happy to be here. And that state is it is so valuable that it's got to be part of the equation. And so there's various ways, and the first way that is available is heart rate variability, and that's been around for over 10 years. But I know there are many other ways, and many of the patents that I filed include all these other ways, literally A to Z. There's that many ways. And ideally, as this matures, all these inputs will go into the validation of what I call proof of resonance. When are you in resonance with your true self? Because when you are, that's when you overflow. That's when you positively influence everyone and everything around you, and when you have the most value. And it's good for you, and it's good for everyone else. And that's when you get goosebumps. You ever get goosebumps? Bingo. That's a cosmic orgasm, right? So there are so many different degrees of it, right? So it's not going to end up being just one thing. And this is all like, this thing hasn't even launched yet. We're like the infancy. I feel like we're at the stage of the very, very first personal computer. I'm not even sure we're at the Macintosh level yet, right? Of what we're talking about here. This is so brand new. Even the idea of tokenizing humanity gives some people the creeps. But guess what, folks? We're going to get measured anyway. We already are. So once again, flow is about not pushing against anything, but accepting it, lean into it, bend it, make it yours. And then you're untouchable. Make yourself invincible, where it doesn't matter who's listening in, who's measuring you, who knows how you feel, who knows what you're thinking. Rise above it. Have such a strong current going through you that it can't knock you over. So I focus a lot on what I'm for, not what I'm against. And I don't really ban anything, because that just begets more of what I don't want. And yeah, and depending on where a person is when they even listen to this call, it can be really inspiring to some and really annoying to others, right? It just depends on whether it floats your boat or not. And I let go of any expectation. When people are ready to hear the call to their soul, that's when they'll hear it. When they're ready.
I love this, Susan. I love this, and I totally agree with you. And it feels resonated. I'm like, my body is constantly like, yeehaw. I like it. I have one question, like, and we want to ask, because this is like, we want to talk about embodied, things. If there is one in a near future, let's say 5-10 years, when we maybe all have like little glasses with some metrics inside it, or a hologram on our wrist that just shows us how we're doing, what would be for you the ultimate measurement that you would see? And it can be something that's right now completely not measurable yet. What would be for you the ultimate measurement to see in your corner of your eye or on your smart hologram watch or whatever?
When you really are feeling self-actualized, when you're feeling enlightened, when you're feeling bliss, I want to know that. And it's not even for me per se. I just want it to be available for people to figure it out, to empower themselves and find their way to that place that is so deeply peaceful and so enriching. And if in that place, it's priceless. It's really, it's such a, and humans already want it, right? That's why they each have a different philosophical or spiritual belief in a higher source. And this state is in resonance with that, whatever you call, God or source. And the desire, I believe, is to unionize with that. Not to be there all the time, because then you're dead. When you can go, when you die, you go to pure positive bliss. But this is the game, is to figure out how to blend it in and feel it and taste it and smell it in a physical dimension. Right. And so I want to be able to really be able to just, like, one vision I have is like in the future, like, this is a beautiful piece of amber. Now I'm gonna, because you asked the question, my dream in my future is that here I am in a call or in any meeting, any conversation. And if I'm flowing and really in resonance, this is glowing, like bioluminescence. You can tell my truth is, I'm literally glowing. And I'm figured out this enough that I have no fear about it not glowing. And in fact, I have this other daydream of having, I call them Tom Talks instead of TED Talks. So Tom is token of me, and that's the trademark. That we have Tom Talks, and the mic only works if you're in resonance. So you could be standing on stage, moving your lips, and then everyone laughs, including you. And then you go boom, right into a heart-centered state, and the talk continues. And because how many meetings have you been on when someone's like just jabbering on, you're like, cut their mic, that's not adding any value. That's like nonsense. In fact, it's bringing me down, right? We want to bring each other up. And so, yeah, when you get really good at this, you're like, bring it on, make the mic only work. So the Zoom call, the mic, you don't have to click a button, you just get into a coherent state and that triggers the mic. It'll be perfect, right? The future's transparent. Future's transparent. And then meetings are so efficient and so rewarding. Whoever's glowing, like whatever she said, yeah, let's do that. That's a win-win, There's no more guessing. And so, yeah, it's like you got to figure this out, folks. So yeah, you're going to feel a bit left behind. You have no voice. And honestly, I think that's what's happening anyway. The ones who are flowing the most are the ones who are on the top of the game and in the limelight. Anyway, it's just going to get more and more obvious, though. Right? So you like that?
So good. Oh my God, I was muted, but I was laughing so hard. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
I love that. And I have a lot of different, but in a way the same things. I was talking to my girlfriend, like, I want to have a light here, so it's really fun. We're almost at the end of our talk, but before we ask the last question, please tell everyone listening to this, where can they find you? Where can they find your work? Where do you want to be found?
Well, it's still kind of, it's a secret project and there's a treasure hunt to find it. You could really find out about it if you happen to be in Mexico on August 1st, right? But you got to find the way there because, your soul doesn't want to be spoon-fed. You really don't, right? Life would be so boring. So the trademark name is Token of Me, but we don't have a website up. But the calling and the name of the company is RogerThat.world. So you could find it there. You could find some more videos, but again, we're not really trying to make a big splash right now. We're really doing a lot of inner work, a lot of personal, just refinements and getting ourselves ready. And that's what I tell everyone who wants to even be a part of this. I say, just go get ready to get ready. Right? And devices are coming out where people will be able to see, because there's a lot of folks that are really excited about this, but they're not ready. And I really don't feel inspired to collaborate, right, as much. So I just want to, help everyone get ready so we can really have a great ride together. But we're still at such an early phase that I'm not seeking a lot of co-creators yet, right? At the moment, we're very, very focused on the initial hardware and the initial software and the funding. And I had a great dream on where the funding will come from for the first, proof of concept. It comes from family trusts. Yep, we want the money to come from family trusts because those are automatically designed to have beneficiaries. And So there are others too, but that's what I heard the calling clearly about. And so you can find us, but we're not publicly launched yet. But you'll know when you hear about a treasure hunt in your town that you heard it here first.
Yes. Follow your flow, and at one point you will find out.
Yes,
wow,
exactly. You'll hear, just follow, trust yourself, follow your inner, your gut, especially if you are in a, I tell people, follow your gut, but only when you're sure you're in a loving, state, because otherwise it could be fear you're reacting to. And so I always focus on taking action when I'm feeling light and happy, and it has a good feeling. If I'm ever in a negative state, no, I try not to say anything. I try not to do anything because I'm off. So anything, Tobias, anything else?
Oh, so many things. I've taken so many notes. I have a few specific ideas that I will share with you after the call.
Okay, very good.
But yeah,
Super.
we'll maybe have just the last question. So,
Okay.
how do people embody being in flow? Maybe you have a few last things that you can share from your own experience before we get into the Q&A.
Okay. It starts with me first thing in the morning. The moment I'm aware that I'm awake, I try to not move. I just go right into a meditation instantly because it's such a peaceful, quiet state. It's easier. And I have no set time, And then I love coffee in bed with my cat. So I go do that. And then I come back. And then I listen, like, what do I feel called to do that would pull me up? And sometimes it's a song I want to listen to. Sometimes it's a teacher I want to listen to. That's often what I'll do. If I don't hear anything specific, I'll just put in, one of my favorite teachers. And then I'm blessed here to live right near the ocean. So, and like no one else is around. So I feel like I have this incredible place I walk to the beach and my cat follows me and we just feel like, we're the only critters on earth, and then I just usually watch the sunrise and the ocean. And then I really consciously try to talk to whoever I feel guided by, whether it's my father or Steve Jobs himself, and say, okay, guys, I know you can see this from your perspective, which is magnificent. What's the next question? What's the next step? And, go ahead, bring it on, right? I sort of ask them to even ask me what the question I should be asking, not necessarily the answers. Because the most powerful thing you can do is ask the question and then hear the answer. So these are like all these little techniques I have for myself that I've just been developing over the years. And of course, there's silent meditation, which I do as well. But oftentimes I find myself now doing what I call appreciation meditation, which is but you can't always do that. You got to be above like a certain level to even get to that place of being in a state of appreciation. So, and then, the tough moments are when I just call it when shit happens or contrast happens. I really do my best because I know those are very powerful moments. If I can unionize these, if I can neutralize these and find the blessing in them, those have always been like I call it the rocket burners. That's where the burners just go, where I shoot up when I can really, and we could literally talk all day about examples, but I know we don't have all day. But everyone has examples. Think of anything where it seems like, it went wrong, but it actually went right. That's where the magic is. And that's the most powerful technique that you can do that will change your vibration and your mindset and your perception and your beliefs and then your feelings and give you more grace and more ease. And of course, I make sure I get good sleep. I drink a lot of water and, I eat what I think is relatively healthy, but hey, I don't push against anything, right? I still like chocolate. I still like sweets. I still like coffee. I don't make a big deal about a lot of physical things because that's actually a common way that even the best of us hold ourselves out of a flow state is by being against anything. Even being against meat or being against, you name it, is a resistant state. So yeah, so I'm always challenging my own beliefs. Keep an open mind, keep an open heart, trust that everyone is doing the best they can. There's, even with what I'm doing right now, I put out the call, let people know that I know here, hey, this is what wants to happen. Who's in? Do you hear the call? And if they come, great. And if they don't, great. Really, really letting everyone off the hook. Love them. Just learning how to love no matter what. And because no one is here for me. And I want everyone, this is like, I think I told you this, Tobias, so I'll leave it. This is here's a great way to end the call. Here's my wish for you and anyone who watches this. Be true to you. Don't try to please me. Don't make it about me. Don't compromise yourself for me or anyone. I want you to do what you want. Who are you and what did you come here to do? And just do it. Find yourself. Don't dim yourself for me or anyone else. Really find that truth inside and just trust that if you could hear that soul in you, everyone wins.
Amazing. Suzan, thank you so much for being with us here today, sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Thanks for making it possible. Here, I'll give you a heart too. True love. True love is true freedom.
Amazing. Alrighty, let's transition into the Q&A piece.